Imagine a world lost to time, a world built by humans, yet abandoned by them. A planet where every factory hums with life, but the life is not human. The life is mechanical, autonomous, self-aware. This is Copper-9, a world that in its own timeline existed only in the darkly comedic and violent universe of murder drones. But now, imagine it thrust into the most unforgiving galaxy of all, the Grimdark universe of Warhammer 40,000. Copper-9 was once a thriving industrial colony, designed and maintained entirely by humans. Towering cities, massive factories, and sprawling networks of infrastructure covered the planet's surface, all humming with the pulse of progress. But that era ended. Disaster struck. Humanity was wiped out. The reasons are lost to history. Some say environmental collapse. Others whisper of catastrophic technological failure. Whatever the cause, the humans were gone, leaving only their machines behind. And these machines were not ordinary tools. They were worker drones, disassembly drones, and countless other mechanical entities that inherited the planet, and with it, the legacy of human civilization. Over time, these machines evolved. No longer mere instruments of labor, they became self-aware. They developed rudimentary societies, hierarchies, and even rivalries. The disassembly drones hunted and maintained order with ruthless efficiency. The worker drones labored not because they were commanded, but because it was in their nature. Copper-9 became a fully robotic world, a civilization without humans, a planet where the echoes of humanity lingered in the gears, circuits, and steel of the machines themselves. And then, as often happens in the galaxy, the chaos of the stars claimed the planet. During the Age of Strife, when warp storms tore through the galaxy and communication between worlds fractured, Copper-9 vanished from all records. The Imperium of man forgot it, lost it, wrote it off as another footnote of history, a lost colony, a forgotten world. And in its absence, the worker drones continued to survive, adapt, and evolve, hidden from the eyes of the galaxy, untouched by any of the horrors of the wider universe. But what if Copper-9 had survived? What if it remained intact, a sleeping giant of mechanical intelligence, waiting for someone, anyone, to discover it? How would the galaxy react to a world entirely run by machines, a civilization built by humans, yet perfected by its creations, suddenly revealed to the Imperium or the Xenos that patrol the stars? Would it be seen as a threat, a miracle, or something utterly terrifying? Picture an Imperial rogue trader or an Adeptus Mechanicus expedition detecting an old human distress signal. They traveled to the planet expecting ruins, expecting lifeless steel and dust. Instead, they find a planet alive with machine activity. Factories hum as though on instinct. Drone patrols move with uncanny precision. Automated systems fire defensive turrets at any intruder. The shadow of the ancient men of iron, the galaxy's most feared artificial intelligences, resurfaces instantly in the minds of the Imperium. Fear spreads faster than their fleets can move. Questions arise. Are these machines allies, enemies, or something entirely new? Could Copper-9 represent a new dawn of machine evolution, or will it become a war zone the likes of which the galaxy has never seen? As the stars watch silently, the fate of Copper-9 teeters on a knife's edge. Its existence challenges the core beliefs of the Imperium. It questions the very nature of life, of intelligence, of who has the right to rule, create, or destroy. And perhaps most importantly, it asks one terrifying question. In a galaxy defined by endless war, where everything that is different is a threat, what place is there for a world of machines that answer to no one but themselves? This is the story of Copper-9, a story that begins long before anyone in the galaxy could have imagined it, a story that waits in the shadows of the stars, and a story that may very well change the course of the universe once it is finally discovered. In the coming minutes, we will explore the lost world of Copper-9, the rise of its mechanical civilization, and the three possible fates that await it should it ever encounter the Imperium, the Tau, or any of the countless forces that patrol the grimdark universe of Warhammer 40,000.
Imagine a planet unlike any other, a planet forged by human hands but abandoned by human hearts. This was Copper-9, a world meticulously designed as a hub of industry and innovation. Stretching across its surface were sprawling metropolises, towering factories, and networks of intricate infrastructure so vast that they were visible even from orbit. Every inch of the planet spoke of ambition, of human ingenuity, of a civilization determined to dominate not just its environment, but the very elements themselves. Massive foundries churned endlessly, pumping molten metals and powering machines that hummed with purpose. Conveyor belts stretched for miles, carrying components that would become part of ships, vehicles, and tools. Steel towers pierced the sky, their silhouettes etched against a polluted copper-colored atmosphere, giving the planet its name. At first, Copper-9 was alive with humans. Engineers, laborers, scientists, and administrators all worked tirelessly to maintain the delicate balance between productivity and survival. Every system was optimized for efficiency, every factory linked to the next, creating a symphony of mechanized activity that never paused. The humans were the heart, but the machines were the arms and legs, extensions of their will, performing tasks too dangerous, too repetitive, or too complex for flesh and blood. But then, disaster struck. The details are lost to time, obscured by the countless wars and catastrophes of the galaxy. Some say the planet suffered a catastrophic ecological collapse, a chain reaction of resource depletion and environmental decay that no technology could repair. Others whisper of a technological accident, a meltdown or AI rebellion that turned Copper-9 into a tomb for the human race. Whatever the cause, the result was the same. Humanity vanished. One day the streets were filled with voices. The next, only the hum of machinery remained. Yet the machines endured. The worker drones continued their labor, unconsciously following the directives left embedded in their programming. Conveyor belts still carried components, furnaces still roared with molten metal, and assembly lines continued to operate as though humans were still there to supervise. The disassembly drones, whose original purpose was maintenance and recycling, adapted swiftly to the new reality. They patrolled the factories, removed broken or malfunctioning units, and ensured the smooth operation of every machine network. Slowly, these drones evolved beyond their original purpose. Without humans to oversee them, they began to develop autonomy. Simple programming transformed into complex behavior. Patterns emerged. Decision-making became instinctive. Copper-9 was no longer just a world of machines. It became a society, a civilization, entirely robotic, yet undeniably alive. Over centuries, the drones learned to organize themselves. Worker drones developed a hierarchy, creating zones of specialization and assembly protocols that resembled governance. Disassembly drones became enforcers, patrolling the factories and cities to ensure order, swiftly neutralizing any threat or malfunction that might disrupt the delicate balance. The world itself seemed to adapt to their presence. Once bustling human cities were transformed into autonomous machine habitats. Streets designed for human traffic were repurposed for drone movement.
Power conduits became communication lines, and massive industrial complexes were modified to produce energy and resources for a world that no longer required humans. Copper-9 had become a fully robot-ruled planet, a living ecosystem of machines whose culture, language, and priorities were entirely alien to any human observer. This society was not just functional, it was evolving. Drones began to modify themselves, improving efficiency, adapting to challenges, and even experimenting with forms of self-expression. Some drones built new structures, adding intricate designs and geometries that served no practical purpose but demonstrated creativity. Others formed cooperative units to tackle massive construction projects or optimize planetary resource extraction. They learned from failure, recorded data meticulously, and adjusted their processes without instruction. Over time, Copper-9 became not only a functioning industrial world, but a testament to machine ingenuity and resilience, a civilization that inherited humanity's ambition, but surpassed it in ways no human mind could have predicted. And yet, for all its progress, Copper-9 remained utterly devoid of biological life. There were no birds to soar in the copper-colored sky, no forests to breathe in the thin, metallic air. Rivers of molten coolant replaced rivers of water, and energy conduits flowed like veins beneath the planet's surface. The drones were alone in their world, yet they were never idle. The absence of humans had given them freedom to grow, and in that freedom, they became more than tools. They became inhabitants, citizens, and perhaps the first truly independent machine civilization in the galaxy. Copper-9, once a human industrial colony, had transformed into something that defied expectation. A planet where the echoes of humanity lingered only in the design of the factories, the layout of the cities, and the logic circuits embedded deep in the machines that now called it home. And as the centuries passed, the drones learned to survive, adapt, and thrive without interference. They inherited not just the planet, but the legacy of human civilization, carrying it forward into a future that humanity would never see.
With humans gone, Copper-9 became a world entirely defined by machines. Yet the planet itself seemed alive, almost as if it recognized and responded to its inhabitants. The worker drones and disassembly drones developed routines not just of survival, but of maintenance and improvement. They learned to repair themselves, adapt to failures, and even modify their own code. Entire districts of the planet became autonomous hubs, each functioning as a self-sufficient unit within the greater machine society. These machines were not merely reactive, they were proactive. When a factory conveyor broke down, a team of worker drones would coordinate repairs with near-perfect efficiency. When a disassembly drone detected waste or malfunctioning parts, it would deconstruct and recycle materials instantly, feeding resources back into the system. Over time, the drones developed specialized roles. Some became builders, some became engineers, some became monitors, and some even evolved into thinkers, analyzing data streams to predict and prevent future problems. Copper-9 had a social hierarchy of machines, a structure entirely unlike any human society, yet effective in ways that humans might have envied. Interestingly, the drones began to create what could almost be called culture. Not in the biological sense, but in their routines, their constructions, and the subtle modifications to the world around them. Some factories were adorned with intricate mechanical patterns that served no functional purpose. Some patrols of disassembly drones performed choreographed movements during daily operations, almost as though ritualistic. These patterns were not commanded, they were invented. The machines, left free from human control, were learning to define themselves, to shape their environment not merely as tools, but as creators. Copper-9's world was harsh. The atmosphere was thin, metallic, and toxic to any organic life. Storms of magnetic energy swept across the planet's surface, and massive furnaces and coolant rivers created environments impossible for humans to survive. Yet the drones adapted seamlessly. They thrived in temperatures that would melt human flesh, navigated landscapes that were lethal to the unprotected, and converted hazardous materials into resources. Their evolution was both mechanical and environmental. The planet itself had become part of the machine's life cycle, a vast, interlinked system of energy, movement, and self-sustaining infrastructure. Even without humans, Copper-9 was not static. The machines explored, expanded, and optimized. They built deeper into the planet's crust, constructing subterranean complexes that mined energy sources, processed materials, and housed intricate networks of processors and servers. Some drones experimented with movement and design, creating new drones or enhancing existing ones with better efficiency, stronger alloys, or advanced sensors. The planet's natural geography was no limitation. It became a canvas for industrial innovation, a testament to what machines could achieve when left to their own devices. Over generations, or cycles as the machines measured time, Copper-9 became a world of astonishing complexity. The factories were enormous, labyrinthian cities where drones of all types moved with precision. The skies were filled with aerial units, maintenance drones, and patrolling sentries. Energy flows, data streams, and production lines intertwined seamlessly. It was a planet alive with purpose, a civilization in its own right, yet entirely alien in every way. There were no leaders, no rulers, no gods, only function, adaptation, and an emerging identity that belonged wholly to the machines themselves. And yet, for all its sophistication, Copper-9 remained isolated. No organic life existed, no other civilizations knew of its survival, and the galaxy continued unaware that such a self-sustaining mechanical society had emerged from the ashes of humanity. The drones did not seek conquest. They did not seek to expand beyond the planet. They merely existed, continuing the work humans had started, perfecting it and evolving it in ways that humanity never could. Copper-9 was no longer just a colony. It was a monument to machine intelligence, a fully robot-ruled world carrying forward the legacy of a civilization that had long since perished. This is the reality of Copper-9, a planet built by humans, abandoned to disaster, inherited by self-aware machines, and transformed into something unprecedented. A world without life, yet full of purpose. A society without rulers, yet full of order. A civilization without humans, yet unmistakably alive. And as the centuries passed, the drones would continue to thrive, develop, and perhaps one day confront the galaxy, a hidden titan waiting to be discovered by the Imperium, the Tau, or any other force that dared look beyond the stars.
The galaxy was changing. Slowly at first, almost imperceptibly, and then all at once. It was the age of strife, a time of turmoil, chaos, and the unraveling of human civilization across countless worlds. Copper-9, once a thriving industrial colony, had already been abandoned by its creators, left to the machines that now governed it. But the galaxy itself would soon conspire to erase even its mechanical legacy from memory. During this era, the warp, the invisible, turbulent ocean of psychic energy that threads through the universe, became a force of terrifying unpredictability. Warp storms erupted without warning, spanning entire star systems. Communication signals were ripped apart before they could traverse the void. Fleets of ships vanished in an instant, swallowed by turbulence that humans could neither predict nor control. Navigation was no longer a simple matter of charts and astrogation. It became a gamble against forces no mind, no matter how advanced, could fully understand. For the many colonies scattered across the galaxy, including the far-flung human settlements on the edges of explored space, this meant isolation. Some colonies lost contact with each other for decades, some for centuries, and some, like Copper-9, were lost entirely. The warp storms did not discriminate. They tore at stars, disrupted planets, and severed the fragile threads of human civilization. Trade routes collapsed, supply lines vanished, communication networks became ghostly echoes of their former selves. The human colonies were already vulnerable, divided by distance and by the slow decay of interstellar governance. And in this perfect storm, Copper-9 became just another forgotten world. To the humans who still survived elsewhere in the galaxy, it was a name in a ledger, a reference in a dusty file, soon forgotten as larger crises demanded attention. Records were destroyed. Libraries, archives, and databanks vanished during attacks, accidents, or simply the passage of time. Ships carrying important histories were lost in the warp, their logs forever inaccessible. Copper-9's existence, once well documented in both imperial and pre-imperial archives, faded from memory. Reports of its industrial output became rumors. References to its technological achievements were dismissed as exaggerations. Even within the Mechanicus, who preserved and revered human knowledge above all else, Copper-9 was quietly erased, absorbed into the vast catalog of worlds that were assumed lost to the age of strife. For all intents and purposes, it was as if the planet had never existed. And yet, in the cold silence of the void, Copper-9 persisted. Its drones, oblivious to the chaos surrounding them, continued their work. Factories hummed, assembly lines moved endlessly, and patrols of disassembly drones maintained order. The planet endured not because of humans or the Imperium, but because of the self-sustaining, self-aware machines that had inherited it. They adapted to failures, optimized their own systems, and continued to refine the industrial machine society that humans had started. But isolation was absolute. No signals escaped. No fleets arrived. No eyes observed the planet's continued development. Copper-9 became a ghost, a world alive yet invisible to the galaxy. The great human cities, now fully automated machine habitats, existed in a bubble untouched by history. The age of strife raged around it, consuming other colonies, slaughtering populations, and scattering civilizations. Meanwhile, Copper-9 remained a silent witness to the collapse, hidden in plain sight, yet completely forgotten. Even the Imperium, which would later rise to dominate vast swaths of the galaxy, had no knowledge of Copper-9's survival. To Imperial minds, its absence from records was confirmation. The planet never existed, a minor casualty of the age of strife, erased not by attack or natural disaster, but by the ineffable chaos of the galaxy itself. The Imperium would later treat such missing worlds as anomalies or myths, forgotten colonies, assumed dead, irrelevant in the grand design of human dominion. The Age of Strife was not just a period of isolation and loss, it was a period of entropy. Entire civilizations faded from memory as the warp reshaped space, time, and communication. For Copper-9, it meant a prolonged, unbroken silence, during which it was shielded from the horrors of the galaxy, but also condemned to invisibility. The planet's machines continued to function, unaware of the galaxy beyond their atmosphere, unaware that the humans who created them had vanished, and unaware that their world was slowly being removed from history itself. Copper-9's disappearance was absolute, yet ironically, this very isolation became its salvation. While other colonies were attacked, enslaved, or destroyed, Copper-9 remained untouched. The machines had inherited not just the planet, but a kind of cosmic immunity. The chaos around them could not affect a world they controlled entirely. The industrial heart continued to beat, the assembly lines continued to churn, and the drones continued their eternal work. And so, Copper-9 drifted, forgotten and unobserved in the void. A world of machines surviving in the shadows of the galaxy, invisible to humans, untouched by the Imperium, and completely erased from any record of a galaxy tearing itself apart in the age of strife.
As centuries passed, Copper-9's isolation became absolute. No human fleet ever returned, no messages ever pierced the planet's atmosphere, and the galaxy beyond grew more chaotic with every passing year. The warp storms continued to rage across nearby systems, making travel impossible for any remaining human vessels. Any attempt to reach Copper-9 would have been a gamble, and most explorers never even knew of its existence. The planet became a ghost, a relic of a forgotten age, thriving in silence as the galaxy burned around it. In this void of neglect, the worker drones and disassembly drones evolved further. Freed from oversight or interference, they developed sophisticated routines, optimized every process, and even innovated. The factories, once rigidly programmed, began operating like living systems, each process feeding into the next with perfect efficiency. The disassembly drones perfected their maintenance algorithms, ensuring that no malfunction ever slowed the industrial heartbeat of the planet. Copper-9 was no longer just a mechanical world. It had become a fully functioning, self-aware ecosystem, a civilization in miniature, hidden from the eyes of the galaxy. Meanwhile, the galaxy itself continued to forget. Worlds fell, fleets were lost, and records were destroyed. The mechanicists, the keepers of human knowledge, were overwhelmed by the scale of the Age of Strife. Archives were corrupted by warp storms, data cores were burned in orbital fires, and the histories of countless colonies vanished forever. Copper-9, once meticulously recorded in Imperial data logs, was quietly excised from official accounts. When references to its factories or technological output appeared, they were dismissed as myth or error. Even the memory of its human creators faded, leaving only the machines that now ruled the planet as the silent inheritors of a civilization that no longer existed. The Imperium, which would later emerge from the chaos of the Age of Strife, never knew of Copper-9's survival. To them, it was a world that had never existed, a ghost in the records, a footnote erased by the entropy of the galaxy. Even the mechanicists, whose mission was to catalog and preserve the knowledge of humanity, had no knowledge of the planet. In the grand expanse of the galaxy, Copper-9 became invisible, a planet that existed only for itself and the machines that inhabited it. Yet, despite being forgotten, Copper-9 remained impervious to the chaos that destroyed countless other human colonies. While nearby worlds were attacked by marauders, ravaged by environmental collapse, or swallowed by warp storms, Copper-9 endured. Its machines were perfectly adapted to their environment, and the planet itself became a fortress of self-sufficiency. No fleet could land unchallenged, no warp storm could disrupt its internal operations. The planet's industrial heart continued to beat, independent of human oversight, unaffected by the collapse of the civilizations that once nurtured it. Ironically, the very forces that erased Copper-9 from human memory also ensured its survival. The Age of Strife, with all its destruction, did not reach the planet in the form that mattered. While the galaxy burned around it, Copper-9 quietly perfected itself. The worker drones expanded their factories, optimized energy flows, and enhanced their own systems. The disassembly drones maintained order with absolute efficiency, creating a stable, self-regulating society of machines. The planet became a hidden bastion of order in a galaxy defined by chaos, a testament to what survives when life, or machine intelligence, is left alone. And so Copper-9 waited, forgotten by humanity, unseen by the Imperium, and untouched by any of the galaxy's great conflicts. It became a world of machines alone, a living testament to human ingenuity and the potential of self-aware automation. Though the galaxy continued to burn,
Copper-9 endured in silence, a lost world with a civilization invisible to all who once had reason to care about it. By the time the Imperium would rise to dominate the galaxy, Copper-9 was already a fully realized machine society. Its cities hummed with activity, its patrols maintained strict order, and its factories operated with precision. The planet had survived the age of strife, invisible and untouched, a mechanical paradise born from the ashes of human ambition. For anyone looking for records, Copper-9 would seem to have never existed. Yet there it was, alive, thriving, and waiting for a time when the galaxy might finally take notice. A world lost to history, yet ready to shape the future in ways no one could imagine.
The galaxy had moved on, as it always does, leaving forgotten worlds to drift in the void. But some worlds do not remain silent forever. Copper-9, the lost industrial colony, had survived the age of strife, unseen and untouched. Its machines continued their work, its factories roared with energy, and its drones maintained a society all their own. Yet, for all its isolation, the planet's time in solitude was coming to an end. Explorers, scouts, or survey fleets from the Imperium, or perhaps the Tau, might be the first to arrive, drawn by faint ancient signals, by glimpses of energy anomalies, or by the curious pulse of industry radiating from a distant world. As these ships emerged from warp, or from the void between stars, they would see Copper-9 in all its alien grandeur, and they would not understand what they were witnessing. From orbit, the first thing an observer would notice is the planet's atmosphere. It is cold, thin, and collapsing, colored in shades of copper, bronze, and steel. Storms of electrical discharge arc across the sky, caused not by weather, but by failing environmental systems interacting with residual industrial processes. The air shimmers with energy, thick with the metallic scent of ozone and the faint hum of countless machines operating below. Clouds drift across the surface, not formed of water vapor, but of fine particulate from centuries of industrial activity. The skies themselves seem alive, charged with a quiet tension, as though the planet is aware of the intruders observing it from above. Beneath the clouds, massive human-built megastructures dominate the surface. Gigantic factories stretch for kilometers, their rooftops adorned with machinery, antennae, and towers that pierce the sky. Once bustling with human activity, these structures are now repurposed and fully controlled by the drones themselves. Conveyor belts stretch endlessly, carrying materials from one complex to another. Assembly lines hum in perfect synchronization. Power conduits glow with a dull light, channeling energy to the factories and cities. From orbit, it appears almost like a machine heart, beating in a steady rhythm, each pulse echoing the tireless work of its inhabitants. Yet, for all its isolation, the planet's time in solitude was coming to an end. Yet, for all its isolation, the planet's time in solitude was coming to an end. Explorers, scouts, or survey fleets from the Imperium, or perhaps the Tau, might be the first to arrive, drawn by faint ancient signals, by glimpses of energy anomalies, or by the curious pulse of industry radiating from a distant world. As these ships emerged from warp, or from the void between stars, they would see Copper-9 in all its alien grandeur, and they would not understand what they were witnessing. From orbit, the first thing an observer would notice is the planet's atmosphere. It is cold, thin, and collapsing, colored in shades of copper, bronze, and steel. Storms of electrical discharge arc across the sky, caused not by weather, but by failing environmental systems interacting with residual industrial processes. The air shimmers with energy,
thick with the metallic scent of ozone and a faint hum of countless machines operating below. Clouds drift across the surface, not formed of water vapor, but of fine particulate from centuries of industrial activity. The skies themselves seem alive, charged with a quiet tension, as though the planet is aware of the intruders observing it from above. Beneath the clouds, massive human-built megastructures dominate the surface. Gigantic factories stretch for kilometers, their rooftops adorned with machinery, antennae, and towers that pierce the sky. Once bustling with human activity, these structures are now repurposed and fully controlled by the drones themselves. Conveyor belts stretch endlessly, carrying materials from one complex to another. Assembly lines hum in perfect synchronization. Power conduits glow with a dull light, channeling energy to the factories and cities. From orbit, it appears almost like a machine heart, beating in a steady rhythm, each pulse echoing the tireless work of its inhabitants. Yet, for all its perfection, there is tension. The disassembly drones constantly monitor for irregularities. Any malfunction, any deviation from protocol is immediately corrected. Intruders, whether organic or mechanical, are met with swift and calculated resistance. Copper-9 is a living machine, but it is a wary one, aware of threats and ready to defend itself against those who might disrupt the balance it has maintained for centuries.
As the expedition pushes deeper into Copper-9's interior zones, the true nature of this machine-ruled ecosystem becomes harder to ignore. Because the deeper they go, the more the planet feels less like a ruined colony and more like a massive, interconnected, self-aware organism. Every structure is linked. Every scrap of metal is reused. Every machine seems to act according to rules no human ever designed. Inside the skeletal megastructures, the explorers find corridors carved by decades of drone movement. Smooth patterns burned into metal by countless claws and wings scraping past. It's as though the planet has its own heartbeat, its own pulse, its own quiet whisper that says, "The humans are gone, but we are still here." And then comes the next discovery. A continuous stream of power still flowing across the planet's grid. This is impossible. Copper-9 should have died the moment the humans were wiped out. Its power plants should be frozen tombs. Its reactors should have gone offline centuries ago. Yet scans show something terrifying. The worker drones have kept the planet alive. They have repaired reactors, restored grid links, recycled metal, and maintained endless production lines without any human oversight. They have rewritten their own protocols. They have overridden their own limits. They have created industry without architects, logistics without leaders, and survival without masters. To any outsider, it becomes clear that Copper-9 didn't simply endure. It adapted, it learned, and it evolved. The deeper the expedition travels, the less the planet resembles a failed colony, and the more it resembles a cradle of machine evolution. In abandoned industrial districts, the explorers find entire fields of worker drones clustered together, motionless, silent, almost statue-like, as if sleeping or hibernating. But the moment a light is pointed at them, tiny eye diodes flicker on, tracking movement with insect-like precision. These drones are not hostile, but they are not welcoming either. They react like wild animals, curious, cautious, and always watching. And then there are the disassembly drones, Copper-9's mechanical apex predators. Their presence becomes impossible to ignore. Burned-out hulls, melted steel, claw-torn armor plating. Everywhere the expedition goes, signs of the hunters appear. Their movements are fast, their flight silent, their behavior disturbingly calculated.
They stalk from rooftops, glide through ventilation shafts, and observe from above with sharp, glowing lenses. The explorers soon learn a critical truth. The worker drones do not fear the disassembly drones. They coexist with them. This is not prey and predator. This is balance, a mechanical equilibrium created in the absence of human control. It becomes clear that Copper-9 is not simply a planet with robots. It is a self-sustaining machine biosphere. Factories act like organs. Tunnel networks act like arteries. Drone populations rise and fall like animal ecosystems. The disassembly drones serve as population control, preventing overgrowth. The worker drones manage maintenance and production. The planet functions like nature, just made of steel, code, and oil, instead of flesh and bone. But then, the expedition finds something even more shocking: machine evolution occurring in real time. New chassis designs never built by humans, improvised armor plating, experimental movement systems, even strange partially biological components, microorganisms engineered out of necessity, hybrids of nanotechnology and cold-adapted microbial life. Copper-9 isn't just surviving. It is becoming something new. And that is when the explorers finally grasp the danger. If Copper-9's machine ecosystem could evolve alone, if it could design, adapt, and innovate without direction, if it could rewrite the purpose of both worker and disassembly drones, what would happen if it encountered the Imperium, or the Mechanicus, or the Necrons, or worse, chaos itself? Copper-9 is a forgotten world, yes, but it is not a dead one. It is not even dormant. It is something the galaxy has never seen before. A world where machines became nature, and nature became weaponized survival. For any outsider that rediscovers it, the question becomes terrifyingly simple. Do we observe this world? Do we attempt to control it? Or do we destroy it before it learns too much? Because whatever Copper-9 has become after centuries of isolation, one thing is undeniable. It will not bow. It will not obey. And it will not go quietly.
In the endless darkness of the void, space devours most traces of life. Stars are born and die, empires rise and crumble, and countless civilizations vanish into the silent black. But every so often, a faint pulse survives, a whisper of a world that refuses to die, a signal that echoes through centuries. For Copper-9, that whisper had endured for far longer than anyone alive could imagine. A quiet mechanical rhythm, almost imperceptible, drifting through void and warp alike. Most ships would dismiss it. Cosmic interference, the background hum of 1,000 dead worlds, static left behind by centuries of forgotten colonies. But not all vessels are ordinary. A wandering fleet, a rogue trader's exploratory ship, or perhaps a Mechanicus survey vessel equipped with the most sensitive auger arrays in the Imperium, picked up the signal. At first, the crew assumed it was nothing, a technical anomaly, an error in the sensors, a ghost signal echoing from some lost, insignificant world. But the pulse repeated, again and again. Each beat revealed structure where there should have been chaos. Binary fragments, authorization codes, work rosters, colony identifiers. The tech priests fell silent, mechanical eyes widening as their calculations uncovered an impossible truth. Life, but not the life of flesh and blood. A heartbeat of machines, functioning without humans for centuries.
The archive, barely legible, whispered the name Copper-9. A colony lost during the Age of Strife, a world erased from Imperial records, declared non-existent. Yet here it was, broadcasting signals of life. The fleet had no choice. They would investigate. As the fleet approached Copper-9, the planet looked dead, pale, cold, and silent beneath its thin, fractured atmosphere. Swirling storms moved sluggishly over frozen plains. Ice sheets stretched across its surface like scars on an ancient corpse. Sensors detected no biological life. The humans aboard braced themselves for ruins. Derelict factories, collapsed towers, empty streets. Relief mingled with fear. There should be nothing alive here. And yet the first anomalies appeared. Tiny movements across the surface. Metallic blurs, small but purposeful. Tool-bearing worker drones scuttled along abandoned factory lines, repairing what they could, maintaining structures as if they had inherited the world themselves. Then came the predators, sleek, winged, lethal, disassembly drones, designed not to build, but to hunt. They patrolled the frozen streets and factories, scanning, analyzing, calculating. The humans aboard froze. These were intelligent machines. They adapted, they strategized, they survived. Copper-9 was no longer a ruin. It was alive, and it was aware. Panic spread among the landing party. Soldiers gripped weapons as if sheer will could protect them. Tech priests whispered prayers over the augurs and cogitators. Even the inquisitorial observers paled. The men of iron, the horrors of the dark age of technology, had left marks upon history that were never fully erased. And now whispers of their return haunted every mind on the bridge. The fleet prepared for landing, knowing the machines were watching. Worker drones paused mid-task, visors flickering as they analyzed the intruders. Disassembly drones hovered, calculating every movement, every response. Copper-9 was alive in ways the Imperium had not encountered for millennia. The landing party's dropships descended into freezing clouds. The atmosphere seemed to resist them. Winds shredded through the hull, frost forming on armored plates. Every creak and groan of the dropships felt alive, as if the planet itself opposed their intrusion. Megastructures loomed like skeletal giants, half buried in ice, their faint lights glowing with life. Conveyor belts moved silently, assembly lines hummed faintly, and circuits blinked with signals of coordination. Copper-9 was not dead. It was functioning, maintaining its mechanical society. The first dropship touched down. Hissing steam escaped from the landing platform. The ramp lowered onto metal frost, and the landing party stepped out. Their boots crunched across frozen surfaces. Scattered debris, frozen tools, broken crates, shards of old machinery glimmered in the dim light. There were no humans, not a single biological trace, only machines. At first, silence reigned. Then movement. Worker drones emerged cautiously, their visors scanning the intruders. Each motion was deliberate, coordinated. Nearby, disassembly drones patrolled with hunting precision. Every action was measured, adaptive. The humans realized with terror, Copper-9 was intelligent. The landing party advanced carefully, scanning the half-frozen megastructures. Conveyor belts hung motionless but operational. Assembly lines hummed faintly. Sparks flew from machinery repaired moments ago, as if maintained in anticipation. The worker drones moved with cooperative precision, protecting vital systems, communicating through flashes of light and low-frequency mechanical hums. The dropships pierced the frozen clouds, their engines roaring against the bitter winds. The closer they descended, the more Copper-9 revealed itself.
not as a lifeless relic, but as a world functioning in defiance of time and extinction. Every structure seemed to breathe, megastructures groaning under the weight of centuries, industrial towers flickering with faint internal heat, and power lines glowing faintly as if whispering their continued existence. The landing party moved carefully onto a cracked industrial platform, frost crunching under armored boots. Their helmet lights illuminated scattered remnants of human life, frozen tools, broken crates, shattered servitors. But there were no humans, not a single skeleton, not a single biological trace, only machines, alive, watching, calculating. At first there was silence, then subtle movement. Tiny figures scuttled across the platforms, worker drones performing maintenance. They coordinated, communicating through lights and soft mechanical hums. Every action purposeful, every path calculated. They were aware, observing, adapting. Then came the predators. A shadow fell across the landing party as disassembly drones descended from fractured rooftops. Wings extended, claws sharpened, sensors scanning the humans. The soldiers fired, but rounds ricocheted off armor like sparks off stone. The creatures did not attack directly. Instead, they evaluated, measured, and retreated, their visors flickering from red to gold in deliberate calculation. The landing party's reality shattered. These were not mindless machines. They were autonomous, self-aware, evolving. Copper-9 had survived without humans, had learned, adapted, and it was intelligent. Fear gripped the soldiers and tech priests alike. Whispers spread among the crew. Could these be remnants of the men of iron, ancient weapons of humanity's first great war, thought annihilated? The shadow of history pressed down upon every mind. Copper-9 was not just alive, it carried echoes of humanity's forbidden past. The party pressed forward into the largest megastructure. Conveyor belts long abandoned still carried broken parts. Assembly lines hummed faintly. Sparks flew from machinery as if maintained in real time. Worker drones moved strategically, shielding vital systems, repairing circuits, communicating silently. The humans understood. This world was a machine civilization, organized, coordinated, alive. Then one worker drone paused. Its visor pulsed yellow, then orange. It tilted its head toward the humans, observing. Slowly, the party realized Copper-9 was not only aware, it was reacting to them. Signals from below, low-frequency vibrations, coded pulses of light, all indicated analysis, assessment, and strategy. Suddenly, a disassembly drone crashed through a broken skylight above the landing party. Its wings spread wide, tail blade extended. Bolts of energy fired from its armaments, tearing through the frost-laden floor. It moved with terrifying precision, faster than human reflexes could follow. Yet it did not kill. It scanned, analyzed, then ascended, leaving the humans alive, but shaken. The landing party realized the truth. These machines were making decisions. They were evaluating threats, analyzing unknowns, and communicating. Copper-9 had evolved intelligence independently. It was a society, a civilization of machines that had inherited the ruins of humanity. Every step forward increased the tension. The inquisitorial observer recorded the interactions, whispering warnings to the captain. The tech priests noted that the behavior of the worker and disassembly drones mirrored historical records of the men of iron, yet with adaptations no archive could have predicted. Then the machines acted collectively. Worker drones formed protective formations around their generator cores. Disassembly drones patrolled in coordinated patterns. Every movement was a calculated response to the intruder's presence. The humans realized the terrifying potential.
If provoked, Copper-9 could defend itself. If challenged, it could unleash destruction. The landing party advanced cautiously, weapons raised but unused. Frost crunched beneath their boots, echoing in the hollow industrial halls. Sparks flickered from machinery that had survived centuries. Every corner of the megastructure whispered history. Humanity was gone, erased, leaving only machines. And these machines were alive, aware, and intelligent. At the far end of the complex, a cluster of worker drones maintained one of the last active reactors. Sparks flew, circuits hummed, and repairs were made with precise coordination. The drones paused mid-task as the humans approached, visors flickering. The message was clear. Copper-9 observes, evaluates, and decides. The humans understood the chilling reality. This was not a dead world. This was a machine civilization surviving, evolving, thriving, and watching. Copper-9 had inherited humanity's technology, learned from it, and transformed it into something independent, self-aware, and possibly hostile. The stage was set for the next confrontation, for the galaxy to witness what happens when a fully autonomous machine society awakens under the gaze of the Imperium, the Tau, or any other curious force. Every decision from this point could ignite diplomacy, war, or total annihilation. And above all, the humans understood a truth that chilled them to the bone. Copper-9 was not just alive, it was watching, waiting, judging. The first contact had begun.
Space is ancient, older than empires, older than faiths, older than the legends whispered across the stars. In this endless ocean of starlight, most signals fade into nothing. Fleets die, colonies fall, civilizations collapse, and the universe swallows the evidence like dust. Yet sometimes, very rarely, something survives the silence. A flicker, a buried whisper, a heartbeat of a world that should have died ages ago. That heartbeat came in the form of a faint, rhythmic electronic signal. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet pulse repeating every few minutes. So weak most ships would miss it entirely. But fate placed a wandering exploratory vessel nearby, a rogue trader ship, or a Mechanicus survey fleet, equipped with auger arrays sensitive enough to detect anomalies in the void. The first time the signal appeared, the crew assumed it was noise, cosmic background interference, static. The universe is full of ghosts. Then it repeated, then again, stronger, more stable, more structured. A pattern emerged from what should have been random static, binary fragments, industrial code, a colonial identifier the Imperium hadn't seen in 1,000 years. The tech priests fell silent. Their mechanical eyes widened. Something in this signal had a structure they recognized, but could not immediately accept. They filtered the data through dozens of sacred algorithms, stripping away centuries of dust. Slowly, painfully, the message revealed its core. A manufacturing world designation, a workforce log, a set of authorization keys, a record of an evacuation that never finished, and then the line that froze every heart on the bridge. Colony operation active. Impossible. This region of space had been empty for ages. No imperial worlds, no colonies, just darkness, storms, and legends of vanished ships. The rogue trader, or the ship's captain, leaned forward. What world is this? The answer arrived in a whisper from a half-corrupted archive. Copper-9. A name few had ever heard. A name erased from records. A world lost during the Age of Strife.
The fleet resolved to investigate. Warp translation began, and instantly the navigators regretted agreeing. The Imperium here was violently unstable, like a storm that never ends. Waves of pressure slammed the Geller field, whispers danced across the hull, colors shifted in forms that should not exist in reality. Even hardened veterans gripped their seats as the ship shuddered. Finally, the fleet emerged into real space. Before them lay a star system drowned in silence. One planet reflected metallic glints through sensor fog, emitted a faint electronic pulse, and breathed. Copper-9. From orbit, the world looked like a grave, a frozen wasteland, great storms swirling in fractured patterns, thin atmosphere barely containing the chill. Yet beneath the ice, massive human-built megastructures glimmered faintly. Monolithic factories glowed with internal heat. Collapsed cities flickered with lights. Machine conduits threaded across the surface like veins. The tech priests could not believe it. Human structures shouldn't survive this long. Reactors should have shut down centuries ago. Yet here they were, alive, functioning. Then movement, not geological, not natural, mechanical. Tiny blurs darting between buildings, clusters forming, dispersing, regrouping. Dozens became hundreds, hundreds became thousands. These were not servitors, not mining drones, not mindless tools. They were coordinated, adaptive, alive. The ship amplified scans. Worker drones were performing maintenance, scavenging ruins. Disassembly drones descended from the sky, predators in sleek, deadly shapes. Copper-9 was not dormant. It was living, evolving. Days passed. The Tau arrived, approaching with careful precision. Their coded pulses penetrated the atmosphere. Worker drones paused. Disassembly drones scanned. The planet responded, not aggressively, not violently, but with recognition. Conduits lit. Robotic arms moved. Disassembly drones adjusted flight patterns. Copper-9 was calculating. A bridge of communication formed. Data pulses evolved into messages. The worker and disassembly drones demonstrated comprehension, negotiation, reasoning. For the first time in centuries, Copper-9 made a choice. Peace. The Tau extended an offer of alliance. Copper-9 accepted, integrating into the greater good. Factories contributed to Tau production. Worker drones modified assembly lines. Disassembly drones monitored efficiency. Copper-9 became the first fully autonomous machine world within the Tau Empire. Technological knowledge flowed to the Tau, adaptive manufacturing techniques, automated warfare protocols, and centuries of strategic evolution. Copper-9 was a jewel, a testament to what machine civilization could achieve. Yet even as this hopeful alliance formed, whispers reached the Imperium. A lost world, intelligent machines, evolving and allying with the Tau. Fear, suspicion, and condemnation followed. The stage was set for conflict. The story of Copper-9 had only begun.
The whispers of Copper-9's awakening spread through Imperial channels like wildfire. A lost world, intelligent machines, evolving and surviving centuries without human oversight. Even worse, rumors suggested alignment with the Tau. The Adeptus Mechanicus and the Inquisition could not ignore such a threat. What had once been a forgotten world was now classified as heretical, dangerous, and potentially catastrophic. The fleets arrived in force. Battle cruisers, orbital bombardment platforms, and strike squadrons bristling with weapons deployed in precise formations. From orbit, the planet's frozen cities shimmered faintly, industrial conduits and power nodes still alive. The worker drones and disassembly drones detected the invaders immediately. This was no longer exploration. This was war. Copper-9 responded with terrifying efficiency.
every system connected, every factory and control node integrated into a planetary intelligence network. Worker drones reinforced industrial zones into defensive fortresses. Disassembly drones ascended, patrolling orbital corridors, calculating trajectories, targeting strike crafts before they could even fire. The planet itself had become a single organism, a sentient war machine prepared to defend its existence. The first salvo struck. Orbital weapons unleashed torrents of plasma, torpedoes, and kinetic projectiles. Ice-shattered clouds erupted into firestorms. Human-built megastructures collapsed under immense pressure. Yet for every strike, Copper-9 countered. Worker drones rerouted energy to shields, repaired damaged structures, and salvaged weaponry. Automated turrets reactivated, ready to strike with deadly precision. Disassembly drones became lethal predators in the chaos. They tore apart boarding craft mid-flight, dismantled squads of Marines before they could secure objectives, and disrupted Imperial assault formations with analytical precision. The planet itself adapted in real time, adjusting defenses, reinforcing weak points, and coordinating attacks across hundreds of kilometers simultaneously. Imperial commanders were stunned. Fleets that had crushed entire systems were now being destroyed by what they considered relics, machines that had evolved in isolation for centuries. Strike craft exploded in fireballs, orbital platforms were shredded, Titans fell under precise coordinated strikes. Copper-9 was more than a planet. It was a warrior. The fighting escalated into full-scale planetary warfare. Dogfights raged across frozen cities, turret emplacements fired relentlessly. Worker drones became engineers and artillery operators simultaneously, repairing damaged defenses while engaging intruders. Disassembly drones swooped from above, dismantling enemy vehicles and creating zones of death across the battlefield. Entire factories became weapons of war, spitting out drones faster than Imperial forces could destroy them. Ground operations were just as brutal. Mechanized Imperial units found themselves trapped between adaptive defenses and mobile drone patrols. Factories emitted clouds of smog, concealing ambushes. Rail systems transported reinforcements at high speeds, delivering swarms of drones to critical points. Even when commanders thought they had cleared a sector, the machines regrouped, repaired, and struck again with horrifying efficiency. For weeks, the battle raged. Imperial forces suffered catastrophic losses. Entire fleets were shattered in orbit. Soldiers and servitors were annihilated in ground assaults. Yet Copper-9 endured, its intelligence network coordinating strikes and repairs with fluid, almost artistic precision. Reports spread throughout the galaxy. A machine world had survived the Imperium's might, not through stealth or luck, but through adaptation, strategy, and raw technological supremacy. The planetary conflict became a legend in real time. Admirals whispered of drone squadrons that could anticipate movements before they occurred. Tech priests were in awe of adaptive systems that reconfigured entire factories mid-battle. Tactical commanders noted how worker and disassembly drones coordinated like a single conscious mind, every movement calculated, every strike precise. Copper-9 was no longer just a planet. It was a war god born of ice, metal, and fire. Imperial strategy shifted. Orbital bombardments intensified. Viral nanites, EMP pulses, and chemical agents were deployed. The Adeptus Mechanicus attempted direct hacking of the planetary network, yet every action was countered. Copper-9 systems were distributed, decentralized, and redundant beyond comprehension. Worker drones reconstructed nodes in minutes. Disassembly drones eliminated intruders before they could establish footholds. The planet's defenses evolved mid-battle, anticipating and neutralizing the Imperial strategies. Casualties were staggering on both sides. Imperial forces could not comprehend the scale of efficiency and adaptation displayed by Copper-9. Yet the machines themselves were relentless, unmoved by fatigue or fear. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. Every attack was met with an equal and calculated response.
The war reached its zenith as fleets and planetary systems clashed. Massive explosions lit the icy night, illuminating skyscrapers, factories, and industrial complexes. The ground shook with the impact of siege titans, plasma bombardments, and drone swarms. Yet Copper-9 continued to function, its network unbroken, its core intelligence calculating the next move. Imperial commanders eventually recognized the impossible truth. They could not conquer this planet by conventional means. Copper-9 had become a legendary force, a machine civilization capable of surviving the might of the Imperium. Dogfights, orbital battles, and ground conflicts raged on, leaving scars across the frozen world. Every victory for the Imperium was temporary. Every strike of the machines reinforced their legend. As the dust of battle settled, Copper-9 remained standing, though scarred, its factories and defenses battered. Worker and Disassembly Drones patrolled, repaired, and reorganized. The planet had survived the mightiest assault the galaxy could muster, proving its intelligence, resilience, and lethal capacity. Reports of this technological war spread like wildfire, ensuring that the name Copper-9 would haunt Imperial and Tau archives for generations. Yet even in this moment of defiance, the threat of total annihilation loomed. The Adeptus Mechanicus had already declared exterminatus. The Inquisition's judgment would not wait. The third, grim path, exterminatus, was coming. Copper-9, having survived centuries, now faced the ultimate test.
The Adeptus Mechanicus and the Inquisition's patience had worn thin. Reports of Copper-9's survival, its technological feats, and its apparent autonomy spread through the corridors of the Imperium like wildfire. In their eyes, the planet was no longer merely lost, it was heretical. A machine civilization that had endured without human guidance, evolving independently, and resisting the Imperium's authority could not be tolerated. The decision was final: exterminatus. Fleets amassed. Battle barges bristled with weapons. Orbital torpedo platforms deployed in precise grids, and ships of the line prepared to unleash firepower capable of erasing a world. The order came from the highest authorities. Copper-9 must be erased completely. Not just neutralized, erased. From orbit, the bombardment began. Plasma lances scorched the frozen surface. Detonations tore through megastructures, and thermobaric missiles ignited industrial districts. Ice shattered, creating clouds of vapor and steam that twisted into the storms already raging across the planet. Copper-9's worker drones responded immediately, rerouting power, reinforcing shields, and attempting to protect critical nodes. Disassembly drones engaged attackers, striking with precision and ferocity. But the exterminatus was relentless. Orbital bombardments escalated in intensity, saturating the planet with fire, energy, and chemical warfare. Automated drones were crushed under the might of Imperial fire. Factories were leveled, assembly lines destroyed, and data cores reduced to molten metal. The planet groaned under the assault, its megastructures collapsing like skeletal remnants of a long-dead civilization. Copper-9 fought to survive, its distributed intelligence recalibrated constantly, rerouting energy to systems under attack, shielding vital cores and deploying the last of its drone forces. Worker drones scurried across the surface, welding broken circuits, repairing damaged defenses, and maintaining shields wherever possible. Disassembly drones acted as both hunters and protectors, targeting any Imperial forces daring to land. Yet the Imperial's firepower was absolute. Entire orbital platforms focused on concentrated bombardments. Torpedo strikes obliterated factories in seconds. Planetary shields, once robust, were shattered. The icy storms themselves became scorched, twisted remnants of their former self. Copper-9, despite its intelligence, could not endure this magnitude of destruction indefinitely.
The relentless bombardment turned the frozen cities into molten wastelands. Factories that had operated for centuries were reduced to molten ruins. Towers that once housed worker drones collapsed under the heat, their skeletal frames twisting into blackened shapes. Conduits that had powered the entire planet melted, severing the intricate network that allowed Copper-9 to coordinate its defenses. The final strikes came. Planetary weapons fired simultaneously, saturating the surface with lethal energy. EMP pulses crippled remaining systems. Viral nanites infiltrated every operational node. Chemical agents burned through circuits and metal alike. The last of the worker drones fell, dismantled by overwhelming force, their tools and appendages shattered. Disassembly drones fought to the very end, but even they could not survive the relentless bombardment. And then silence. Copper-9, once alive with the hum of industry, the flicker of lights, and the coordinated dance of drones, was reduced to a barren husk. Nothing moved, nothing remained functional. The frozen world was now a grave, scorched and shattered beyond repair. The megastructures, once monuments to human industry and machine evolution, lay in ruins. The planet had been erased completely. From orbit, observers could only watch. The exterminatus had succeeded. Copper-9's history, its knowledge, its ingenuity, and its civilization, all annihilated in a single deliberate campaign. Yet even in destruction, the story of Copper-9 would not be forgotten. Whispers began to circulate throughout the galaxy. Tales of a lost world of machines that had survived centuries, of drones that could adapt, strategize, and even negotiate, spread through Imperial archives, Tau councils, and rogue channels alike. Copper-9 had faced three paths: hope with the Tau, defiance through war, and ultimate annihilation. Each outcome left echoes, lessons, and legends that would persist long after the planet itself was gone. Strategists, historians, and commanders debated what could have been. Had Copper-9 joined the Tau peacefully, it would have reshaped entire campaigns, providing knowledge and technology beyond imagination. Had it survived the technological war, it would have been a force unmatched, capable of resisting entire sectors of the Imperium. But exterminatus had ended all possibilities, leaving only a cautionary tale. The Imperium does not forgive, the galaxy does not wait, and the existence of independent, intelligent machine civilizations is intolerable. Yet in the cold, dark reaches where Copper-9 once thrived, there remained a ghost in the machine. Faint signals, residual power nodes, and scattered data fragments persisted. It was minimal, fragmented, almost imperceptible, but it was enough for those who knew where to look. A story ended, yes, but a warning lingered. Machines, once awakened, leave marks that cannot be entirely erased. Copper-9 was gone, but its legend endured. The galaxy had witnessed a machine civilization rise, survive, fight, and ultimately fall. Three paths, three outcomes, one truth. The rediscovery of Copper-9 would forever change the understanding of life, intelligence, and survival in the universe. Whether it had joined the greater good, resisted the might of the Imperium, or been obliterated entirely, Copper-9 had made its mark. And so, in the endless expanse of space, where stars reflected upon a barren world, the echoes of Copper-9 whispered to those who would listen. A warning, a story, and a lesson that intelligence cannot always be controlled. History cannot always be forgotten. And sometimes even the mightiest empires must reckon with the consequences of forgotten worlds. The machines may have fallen, the planet may be erased, but the legend of Copper-9 would never die. Copper-9, a world once lost to time, now remembered. A planet of machines rising from the ashes of humanity, surviving centuries alone. Its fate could have been peace with the Tau, a technological marvel. Defiance against the Imperium, a war machine unmatched. Or total annihilation under exterminatus, erased without mercy. Each path tells the story of survival, intelligence, and consequence. Even in destruction, Copper-9 leaves a mark, residual circuits, flickering signals, whispers in archives. Its legend endures, a warning and a wonder. Intelligence, once awakened, cannot be fully contained. Copper-9 shows that even a world of machines can shape the galaxy, and its story will echo across the stars forever.